The lights were blinding, the cameras relentless, and the whispers impossible to escape. For years, fans of Chinese drama lived in a world that felt almost too perfect to be real. On-screen chemistry spilled into interviews, behind-the-scenes laughter turned into viral clips, and two rising stars became inseparable in the eyes of millions. Dylan Wang and Shen Yue weren't just co-stars, they were a phenomenon. Together, they created moments that fans replayed endlessly, dissected frame by frame, and turned into legends. And then, suddenly, everything stopped. No more joint appearances, no playful interviews, no projects together. Silence. Until now. It began with a spark, one that no one expected to explode the way it did. When Dylan Wang and Shen Yue first appeared together, their dynamic felt effortless. He carried a sharp, commanding presence. She brought warmth and relatability. Opposites, yet perfectly balanced. On set, the energy was electric. Crew members would later recall how scenes often extended beyond the script. Improvised glances, unscripted laughter, the kind of natural rhythm that directors dream of but rarely capture. One assistant director described a moment that never made it to the final cut. They were filming a simple scene, just a quiet conversation under soft lighting, but something shifted. Dylan paused mid-line, smiled in a way that wasn't written, and Shen Yue broke character, laughing uncontrollably. The entire set froze, watching something real unfold in a scripted world. That clip never aired, but it lived on in memory, whispered among those who witnessed it. And perhaps that's where everything began. Success came quickly, too quickly. Fans didn't just love the characters, they wanted the story to continue off-screen. Social media flooded with edits, theories, and imagined timelines. Every glance between Dylan and Shen Yue was analyzed. Every interaction became evidence of something more. At first it was harmless, even flattering, but admiration can evolve into expectation, and expectation can become pressure. Soon, interviews were no longer just about their work. Questions shifted, subtle at first. Do you keep in touch outside of filming? Who texts first? Is there something you're not telling us? They laughed it off, played along, but behind the scenes, things were changing. The shift wasn't loud. It didn't come with a dramatic announcement or a scandal. It was quiet, almost invisible. A missed joint appearance here, a separate interview there, scheduling conflicts that seemed minor but started to add up. Fans noticed. They always do. One particular incident sent speculation into overdrive. At a major industry event, both Dylan Wang and Shen Yue were present. Fans anticipated their reunion, waiting for that familiar interaction, the effortless banter, the shared smiles. But it never came. They stood on the same stage, just meters apart, and yet it felt like miles. Cameras caught fleeting moments, Dylan looking in her direction, Shen Yue quickly turning away, both maintaining professional composure. It was subtle, but it was enough to see. When Dylan Wang finally addressed the situation, it wasn't through a dramatic confession or a carefully staged interview. It was quieter than that, measured. Honest, but incomplete, as truths often are. He spoke about growth, about evolving as an actor, about wanting to explore new roles, new partnerships, new challenges. But then he said something that changed everything. Sometimes what people see isn't what's really happening, and sometimes what they believe creates something that wasn't there to begin with. That single statement ignited debate. Was he talking about rumors? Or something deeper? Jealousy became the word everyone latched onto, not because he explicitly said it, but because it lingered between the lines. Some believed it was professional jealousy, competition in an industry where attention is currency. Others thought it was about the intense fan culture, where pairing two actors too strongly can limit their individual growth. And then there were those who believed the jealousy wasn't between them at all, but around them. Fans, agencies, expectations, an invisible force shaping decisions behind closed doors. There's one moment insiders still talk about. It happened during the filming of a later project, one that didn't involve Shen Yue. Dylan was working with a new co-star. The atmosphere on set was different, more guarded, more controlled. During a break, a staff member casually mentioned Shen Yue's name. Nothing unusual, just a passing comment. But those nearby noticed something shift. Dylan didn't respond immediately. He paused, looked away, then gave a brief, polite answer before changing the subject. It was a small moment, but it spoke volumes. Not of anger, not even of discomfort, but of distance, a deliberate, carefully maintained distance. In the entertainment industry, relationships, whether real or perceived, are rarely simple. Pairings can become brands, chemistry can become a commodity, and sometimes what starts as genuine connection becomes something that needs to be controlled, managed, even ended. Because staying too closely associated with one co-star can limit opportunities. It can trap actors in a specific image, making it harder to evolve. Dylan hinted at this reality without saying it outright. He said, "There are things you have to let go of if you want to move forward." It wasn't clear whether he was talking about roles, expectations, or people. Maybe all three. While Dylan spoke, carefully, selectively, Shen Yue chose a different path. She said nothing. No clarifications, no counterstatements, no hints. Just silence. But silence, in its own way, can be louder than words. In one interview, when asked about past co-stars, she smiled softly and said, "Some experiences are special because they belong to a certain time. You don't need to recreate them for them to matter." It was a graceful answer, but it also felt like closure. For fans, the situation was both heartbreaking and confusing. They had invested in a story, one that felt real, even if it wasn't. Letting go of that narrative wasn't easy. Online forums filled with theories. Some insisted there had been a falling out. Others believed external forces had driven them apart. A few held on to hope, waiting for a reunion that might never come. But as time passed, something shifted. The intensity faded. Not completely, but enough. Fans began to see them not as a pair, but as individuals. And perhaps that's what the point was all along. So, why did Dylan Wang stop acting with Shen Yue? The answer isn't a single dramatic revelation. It's a combination of things. The pressure of fandom that blurred the line between fiction and reality, the need for professional growth in an industry that demands reinvention, and the unspoken rules that govern how actors are perceived and marketed. And yes, perhaps, a touch of jealousy, not necessarily between them, but within the system that surrounded them. There's one last scene, one that never made headlines, never trended online, but lingers quietly in the background. At an award show, long after they had stopped working together, Dylan Wang and Shen Yue crossed paths backstage. No cameras, no audience. Just a brief moment. They exchanged a few words, smiled. Not the bright, exaggerated smiles of the past, but something softer, more real. Then they went their separate ways. No drama, no tension. Just two people who once shared something meaningful, now walking different paths. In the end, the story of Dylan Wang and Shen Yue isn't about conflict or betrayal. It's about timing, about how certain connections exist perfectly within a moment, and how trying to extend them beyond that moment can change their nature. Fans wanted a continuation. Reality offered something else. And maybe that's the most mind-blowing part of all. Sometimes the most powerful stories aren't the ones that last forever. They're the ones that end exactly when they're supposed to.